Hey, what's good? It's your boy Nova Zeta coming in. I saw a couple people react to this Young Don stuff like that. It's the Channel 5 News, Whites Only Town. The Return to the Land, I think is what they called it. I don't remember the name. Obviously, he's going to say the name of the guy in here. I'm seeing a lot of his stuff, and I kind of wanted to weigh in on it. I'm going to give you a hot take right now to start it out. I actually do not care if white people want to have their own town. Remember, I know I've said this before, but I'm much more Malcolm X than I am Martin Luther King because I want the same thing for not just black people, but people who have similar ideals to me. But I also do want to see black people succeed. I mostly know black people, right? So I believe like instead of I say this to my friends all the time. Like I know they're tired of hearing it, right? But I don't want to move to white neighborhoods. I want to make neighborhoods that make white people jealous of what that we can achieve what they can, right? And I don't mean that in a rude way. I mean that you should always strive to be the best that you can be, and you water the grass where it is. You don't always. I'm old enough now to know that the grass is not always greener on the other side. You got to have those experiences in life. But I've always maintained that I don't need the white man's ice. We can freeze our own over here, right? So I actually have no real problem with these guys wanting their white only town. Now, if you know anything about me politically, well, you probably don't, obviously, because this is a newer channel and I haven't put a lot of time in that, right? I'm always fine with people's autonomy until the point at which you try to use the law to transgress against others. I'm going to give you an example before I start the video. Thank you for bearing with me. They want an all white town. They buy so I think he says it later. I haven't watched the whole thing, right? They had a company buy a large swath of land in Arkansas so they can cosplay as settlers, right? I am completely fine with them saying like, hey, we're only gonna sell to people who we want to sell to, sure, right? It's if they went outside of their commune, right, and said that we want legislation in place that nobody who we know, black people, Hispanics, white people, Jews, whatever they or sorry, not white people, whatever thing that they non-European whites, they say we want legislation to keep other people out. Now I've got a problem. In fact, I hope everybody moves right around you, so they encircle you with, and it's just fiestas and quinceañeras and hood turn-ups and other ethnic parties all in a circle, and you're trapped in the middle. You can never expand, right? It's because you tried to use legal recourse to prevent people from doing from exercising freedom. I mean, you can totally buy up as much land as you can get, and then within that land, do your little thing. Like what was that thing in Seattle they had when they were trying to cosplay Revolution? The Zone? Nah, I don't know. If you know what it is, put it in the comments, please. So I've got no problem with that, right? Because I do the same here. We got a little money. We still live in the same hood that I'm from. Shout out to my wife who moved away from where she was to come over here to kind of help me try to LARP my dream. So I have no problem with that. Let's go ahead and get into the action.
Quite a while, I saw how they treated white people. It's not very good, and yet all the hate is on white males.
You would get beat up if you said something racial to a black person.
You saw that happen.
Yes.
Who knew that if you said something racial, I need more context, right? And I think that I'm gonna go out on a limb since I haven't seen this entire thing, right? I guarantee you the type of I know I don't plan on getting monetized anytime soon, right? It's gonna take me probably a year or two to build up to where I can get monetized, right? So I'm not afraid of this getting demonetized. The type of white person they're going to attract is going to be a person who was not able to make it. They're going to attract the passport bros of white people. It's going to be people who were not able to exist wherever they were. Like, what does O'Shea Do Jackson says? He says, wherever you are, wherever you go, that's where you are. And I think that's a stupid saying, but it actually kind of does work. He's saying like wherever you got to make do with what you have, wherever you are, because wherever you go, you're the main common denominator. Now there is something to be said to move where people have a like mind to you, right? But if everyone around you is weak, you're just gonna have a weak society. Like, I'm not saying that maybe these all qualify. Some of them are doctors, some of them are electricians, construction workers. Um, they've got the facilities and money and wherewithal to make it happen, like the old settlers back in the day who just roughed it and made it work. Even though they were given a lot of free stuff about the government, a lot of people don't like to think about that part somehow. But maybe they can make it happen. But just from the, I'm just gonna prejudge based upon the look. They don't look like they got it in them. But let's continue.
They said something like, man, the hood ain't the hood anymore, as in like they were unhappy with my response.
Almost exclusively white communities exist all around the United States off of paper merely because of socioeconomics, and that
If you're not watching this, awesome, actually, right? It kind of goes, if you're not watching the screen, they're having a wooden sword fight right now. Pretty cool. Like, I do LARP in real life, right? You know, I haven't done it recently. It's been a couple years. Like, sword, shield, dressing up, all that stuff. So I appreciate a good LARP, you know? But I could see that the guy who spoke a little bit ago, is he looks a lot younger than the guy who's trying to start this settlement. I think he's actually, I'm wagering that this guy's going to attract a lot of young impressionable youths who aren't able to make it in modern society, you know. And instead of confronting what that means, like as in like we got a bad job market, AI is replacing a lot of jobs, it's you want everybody to have a family, but you can't survive on one income. But you preach, you know, remember what JD Vance said? He said, just have your grandparents watch the kids, like they did in the past. Back in the 1950s, you could have four families in the same city on one factory worker's salary, and none of them would know about each other. You know, and if they did, they couldn't get bank accounts, so you weren't worried about it in the first place. Those days are over. If you want to promote a healthier society with a conservative values. That's why I can never understand when people say conservative values, because we're moving further away from what capitalism and conservatism cannot go together in the way that they're currently trying to make those things. They're antipodes. They can't work. And I think that he's going to get a lot of people just looking to have, like, I hate to say it, but man, see, it's been probably long enough. If some of these dudes could just get some pussy regularly, they might not have this problem, right? He's going to get some people who have families, because there's just always going to be that subsection of people. But I guarantee you, this can't succeed because there's not going to be enough women, you know, for all of these men, and they can't conscript women into stuff like this, you know, unless they're willing to pay for it. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that they'll skirt the laws or have their own Sharia law inside this thing, you know.
wealthy enough, everyone who becomes wealthy enough will buy into a more or less white-only gated community. But I would not be able to afford that outside of, working my entire life to build up a bunch of businesses. But
You see what he's saying? It's not the white only that's the problem. It may be part of it. Like, he might just be racist for whatever, right? But not racist in like, oh, I hate black people. As in like he feels more comfortable around white people. I feel more comfortable around a diverse group of people myself. But a family. He wants to be able to afford a life. All that work you do should mean something. Purpose is what this young man needs.
I would like to have kids.
I want my kids to be taught that their ancestors did great things, not that they were the villains of history.
Correct. And Arkansas is nice. As far as I know, the laws are you just need to let them know that you're.
Now, old boy brought up a good point, and I think that's something that, in general, as America, we could do better. White people have done good things. Black people have done good things. White people have done bad things. Black people have done bad things. Mexicans, Latinos, Hispanics, Indians, every race has done a good thing and a bad thing. And I think a lot of this discourse has come from, you can uplift a group of people without disparaging another. I don't think you can't make as much money by just uplifting. Chappelle said, I haven't watched his new stand up, but I saw a little clip, and he said, like, one of the difference between, Kirk and Martin Luther King is like, Martin Luther King existed in a time in which you normally only tried to uplift people. Kirk exists in a time in which disparaging people gets clicks, and it gets people into your message. So if you're trying, you have to wrap your message in outrage to reach people. And we're kind of experiencing that as we do as America, hyper capitalism, trying to raise women and minorities up. There is a lot of talk where it's like, man, can't white people they just be white? Can't they just enjoy what they got going on? You know what I'm saying? They build some railroads, whatever. Let's just succeed. Let's lift ourselves up as a country. Obviously, you're gonna say like, oh well, they started it, sure. But this is what you're going to get. They're now on the side of being disparaged, so they're gonna act accordingly.
You're going to be homeschooling, and then after that, there's no like testing that you need to do, or they don't really check up on you.
The first community that really went after us was the r/Jewish subreddit. I had CPS come out here because they had complained to CPS trying to get my kids taken away. The health department has come out here. They just blanket made complaints to everyone. I mean, I do have Mein Kampf, but I think that's just historically relevant.
That's not gonna help you.
Who wrote that one?
Mein Kampf?
Yeah.
Hitler.
Oh, shit.
He's sort of the central villain of the 20th century. So if you don't understand what he thought, then you're, again, missing a big piece of history. Did he make mistakes? I believe so.
What do you think the biggest mistake was?
Invading the Sudetenland.
None of the other stuff.
That's crazy.
The other stuff? Well, it depends on what you mean.
Just like the Holocaust and everything.
Holocaust? I don't know about all that.
Everybody thinks Genghis Khan.
Remember in one of my first videos, I said one of the things that makes it really hard to engage with people is that they can just lie. Like, this is an example of, like, you know what people are talking about, bro. Like, this is why people can't be taken seriously, right? The reason why Nick Fuentes is getting some traction, even though people are realizing that if you go back to his old content, he's a liar also, right? But his persona is that of brash honesty. Man, just say you want to be like Hitler. Say you like what he did, and he'll get you where you need to be, right? Like, and you'll find that crowd. If you'll find a much more tight knit crowd of people who like the thing that you're trying to do, right? Because there's some people who are genuinely going to think that they're going to have this is all about community. They're going to get all the way there, and then you guys are going to burn a cross on the lawn where there's no black people, right? That's going to be weird. But then they're going to be like, oh God, I did not come here for the right reason, and there's no bitches, so I got to deal with this and no hoes. Like, it's not going to work out for you.
Is cool, and he killed more people than Hitler. The question is, like, how fast that will take for Hitler to be as cool as Genghis Khan. I don't know. Total brown Gorper victory.
What's your favorite thing to cook?
So you
I
see
like
what I'm
making
saying? You see what I'm saying? That's a crazy thing to say. That sentence is insane. He's probably the first person to ever say that sentence on air. The Groyper movement group has probably said that sentence a billion times, right? But that's a weird thing to say. People don't necessarily think Genghis Khan is cool. They think that it's an incredible accomplishment to have, on horseback, conquered most of the Western world, right? Because Mongolia is a landlocked country. They didn't have boats. I mean, they probably had boats, obviously, but like naval warfare wasn't their strong suit, and he still made all that happen. That is impressive. It doesn't mean that he's a cool person. You can great things can be done by terrible people.
Goes. That's fun.
Despite the fact that we do have, taco nights sometimes, we also have traditional European food nights. I really love breaded chicken, like fried chicken. I like pizza, I like typical stuff.
Look, I was a big Dr. Dre guy for like my teenage years when I was like working out and everything like that. But then I was like, I don't think it is as soothing to my soul. And that goes back to just like anthropological data that we have about the difference between like rhythm and harmony.
What about you?
I don't listen to rap music. I listen to gospel music.
Okay, who's your favorite gospel artist?
Probably Skillet.
You say Skrilla?
Skillet.
Skillet. What do they sing about?
It's like a rock Christian band.
Okay, cool.
Hardcore, we love Jesus.
Skillet has bangers. Like, go and listen to Skillet. Like, it's like the day that people found out, like, it's like when people find out that Flyleaf is Christian rock, they're always like, what? Like, no, man, yeah, they can bang a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, Christian rap has its moments, Christian rock has its moments. Don't close your circle. Expand your horizons.
Can Greeks live here?
They're European.
How about Central Asian Caucasians?
They're not European.
But the Caucasus Mountains, Caucasian ancestral birthplace, is technically in Central Asia.
Is it?
Mm-hmm. Some Italian Americans, like in Staten Island, think they're not white.
Oh,
They say, I'm not white, I'm Italian.
Yeah, and that has a lot to do with the historical uses of the term white. For legal reasons, I believe Italians and Irish were actually always considered white.
Thank you. Can you show us around, you think?
Sure, of course.
You're watching Channel 5 News, broadcasting live from the Mojave mainframe. And today, we have a special report.
Ladies and gentlemen, the USA is in the state of emergency, and that emergency is related to rapid community decline. In 2019, more than 60% of Americans thought that in-person community involvement was very important. Today, that number is beneath 27%, marking the sharpest dip in modern US history. Consequentially, loneliness is at an all-time high. 17% of Americans reportedly have no friends at all and spend the majority of their time either at work or on social media. In my opinion, that's bad.
I don't think we're actually collectively benefiting from being the richest country on earth so much these days.
You could drive for a half hour in any direction and still be in just more suburbs.
If there's one thing that
It's because we measure things by GDP instead of like Bhutan and overall happiness, right? I was trying to tell some people at work, right? The problem with looking at things, the mode is what we need to start looking at things. Somebody said that. I wish if you guys know who that is, please drop them in the comments, right? But if me, you, and Bill Gates were in the same room, on average, right, we'd have 40 houses because you and I own one. Bill Gates owns, I don't know, what's that number, like 65, something like that, right? But you get what I'm saying, right? Like he owns 65, we own one apiece. The average in that room, is like 20 something houses. So if somebody on the outside of the room was like, man, everybody in there owns an average of 20 houses, man, they getting bread. No, we have one. He has, over 20, 30 if we have one. What we should be looking at is the mode. Which number appears most often in that room is one. So they go, well, the most of those people in that room only have one house. This dude has 40 houses. That's too many houses, right? We don't look at things by what the average person or what the most common thing in American life is. Most Americans, the mode for net worth is negative. But you would think our GDP or our earnings and stuff like that is high because we have a very few select amount of people hoarding all the wealth. So the average American is sad and broke, and poor and getting poor. The average rich person is getting richer and richer and richer. So it skews it because you think we're all making money. We're not all making bread.
I want people to take away from our entire Channel 5 catalog is that community is the most important thing on earth. Aside from helping us to meet our core emotional needs, I believe that community really is like existential therapy that helps us to deal with the dread that accompanies the human condition. From the moment that we actualize death as young children, we spend the rest of our lives coping with the fact that an eternal silence likely awaits us at the end of this strange, beautiful, and painful journey. But community, unlike life itself, offers permanence. Through a strong and continuous community, you can achieve something close to collective immortality, at least in your own mind, which helps to assuage the fear of death in a way that makes life less painful. It's deeper than getting a beer with the homies, which also is happening way less.
We told you recently about a steep decline in partying among young people, 70% down.
Simultaneously, people are spending more time online than ever before, and by online, I mean on social media platforms: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, X, and YouTube. This is only compounding the mental health effects of isolation. 40% of Americans between 18 to 22 admit to being an active social media addiction. 50% of Americans say that social...
I know I keep interrupting a lot. I'm probably going to do this video in parts, right? But I think this is important. I don't think people are addicted to social media because we would rather be on social media than in real life. I think it's because we lack a third place, especially here in America. Like it's work, home, work, home. That's all we have time for. We have to keep the machine going, We have to keep people at the top getting richer. And our only outlet that we can take at times is social media. We live through it, right? And I can tell you personally that a lot of that can make you unhappy, right? And it's not just the keeping up with the Joneses, is that you're seeing someone in a third place. Like they're having experiences that you can only live through vicariously. Everybody always says like, why can't we give poor? Like, why won't people donate money to poor people? But we have no problem donating to rich people. And it's not just because I think a part of it is because you don't trust that poor person because they're poor. If they're poor already, what are they going to do with their money? Lose it again? If the person's rich, they're going to just make more money. That they're already rich, right? But another part of that is that they can go experience something. If something already, it's a snowball effect. If somebody's in Cancun and they say, oh, I need the money for a beer, you might send them money for a beer. It's like somebody's birthday. If somebody says, hey, it's my birthday, cash at me. And they're like, oh, by the end, they're like, thank you for paying for all my drinks tonight, because they're enjoying a third place that you wish you could. And if $1 of your money could go toward a smile that on their face, it will help brighten yours, And I think it's a lot of where this community is probably enjoying some recruitment numbers.
Media has had a negative effect on their personal relationships. 60% say it's impacted their self-esteem for the worse due to comparison. 80% admit to being deceived by social media content on a regular basis. And the average screen time for an 18-year-old American in 2025 is 8 hours and 39 minutes per day. Now, let's pivot and talk about the content that dominates social media platforms. As we mentioned in our previous video about Baltimore, bad news makes more money and travels faster than good news. And social media platforms are rival companies who measure success through engagement, which means keeping your eyes glued to the screen for as long as possible. Statistically, this is best done by deploying content that markets crisis, fear, or disaster. So the users who dominate these platforms and eventually become parasocial leaders are experts in doing just that, scaring people, scaring the hell out of them, usually by shaping a distorted version of the outside world that keeps their followers both inside and engaged into a feedback loop that carefully mimics community.
We've all been exposed to the same sources of information online as well. We're like part of the same online subculture.
I primarily use X. My algorithm is mostly right-wing political content. Nick Fuentes gets fed to me a lot.
I didn't start out nearly as identitarian as I am now. Even my own comment section, in many ways, persuaded me that this stuff is more important than I was giving credit to.
But it's important to remember that regardless of politics, all people fundamentally want the same thing in life and are just grown babies looking for somebody to play with.
We do games, traditional, like the Highland games. Those are traditional Scottish games.
Even before I lived here, I would come and visit and bring my poker set, and we would just do like very low stakes, like $5, $10 buy-in. It's just a fun night with the blokes, grand old time. And then sword fighting is one of the things I really like to do.
It's with that lens that I want you to watch today's documentary, which revolves around a whites-only Christian settlement in rural Arkansas called Return to the Land.
Yeah, my name's Eric Orwell. I'm the president of the Return to the Land Private Membership Association. We call it The Settlement. This is our first intentional community for people of European heritage, planning many others around the country.
Yeah, we have 3 acres, the RV and the solar system and everything.
So this is a homesteading project, pretty much.
Yeah.
Have you been able to harvest your own food?
Yeah, we've gotten a lot of tomatoes, peppers, melons.
What are the main tenets of the community?
Well, we believe in traditional European.
First off, we hadn't even gotten into it. I'm 21 minutes in, so we're definitely gonna do this in parts, right? But again, listen to what they're saying. Purpose. They're growing their own food. They're being self-sufficient. They're not letting the government control them, even though they definitely are beholden to the government, right? I mean, they're enjoying a LARP that's creating community. Obviously, this is unrelated, but this is kind of my problem with the whole Dr. Umar, right? Dr. Umar can't answer a question that he's trying to make a school. It's been 10 years. He's never going to make it. We know that, right? But even if you're going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he's actually trying to make the school, if he's going to operate, think about this. If he's going to operate outside of, he said, like, we're not going to have, he's like, well, we're not doing white man's anything. We're going to be self-sufficient Africans. We're going to learn this. We're going to learn that. We're going to learn this. We're not learning any of the stuff they say, right? If they are learning something that they can't get credits for, if you're not going to look for accreditation, because if you are, there's certain things you have to teach. Now, if he's saying he has electives that he's going to put into place, that's one thing, right? But if he's teaching off the grid stuff for his entire curriculum and requiring things that no school can require, essentially, these kids will not be able to operate outside of the bubble he puts them in, since they go through their entire school from kindergarten to 8th grade, and they graduate, or whatever he calls it. They graduate, and they have no recognizable diploma in any of the United States. They can only operate within his system. They're going to LARP for the rest of their life if they can't make something happen. And so you would hope that he has an actual plan where he's going to ruin a lot of lives. That's something that people who support what he has going on have to be wary of, right? If he had connections to be able to, if he knew plumbers, if he knew electricians, if he knew these things, his school would be up and running. It's not just the funding, it's that he never seems to have anything done. He doesn't know enough people who know enough people who know enough things to make something happen. They're trying, at least,
European values, traditional nuclear families, monogamy.
We're not looking for the weird whatever trans things are going on now. They're not for that.
Basically, what you would find in traditional European religious texts, like the New Testament, like the Havamal in Norse paganism.
How many people do you think live in this community right now?
We have, I think, if you include children, something around like 35 or so.
And we've got hundreds.
That's more than I thought. That's more than I thought they'd have. Good for them, I guess. Again, like I said, they can't. It'll come to a head when they have to operate out, when they have to access the outside world. And not only that, it's going to come to a head. I want to know the numbers. I want to know the census. How many men? How many women? Or what ages?
of new people accepted just in the last, I don't know, few months.
A lot of people are concerned about rapid demographic change, mass immigration, and just what's happening to our countries.
Why not just like go to Idaho?
Well, because I'm not just thinking about what would be convenient or easy now for us, I'm also thinking what will the country look like for my kids and grandkids. Coeur d'Alene, I looked up the census information, and it's dropped nearly 10% of the white population in the last 20 years. That's mostly immigration.
I grew up in Montana.
Did you notice a significant demographic shift in Montana?
Not yet, but it's happening. It won't be long.
And where'd y'all move from?
I'm from Wisconsin.
And whose idea was it?
It was his idea.
I did notice that race mixed kids I didn't think looked as attractive as kids who were pure race, but that's anecdotal.
So going back to the very beginning.
Okay, what was even the point of that? Like, well, it's not even okay. He's entitled to his opinion, right? But what is that? I need. Hey, what are your concerns? Why are you moving out? I don't know. The mixed kids, the mixed kids are ugly, and I don't want the chance that I. I guess if you say like he doesn't want a chance that his grandkids, I guess, could be mixed race, so he doesn't have to look at uglier grandkids. I guess I don't know what would he. I don't know where he was going with that one.
You said you grew up in Southern California?
Yeah.
What part of the area?
The south of LA County, La Mirada.
Okay, cool. So you pretty much grew up like in a pretty diverse area.
Oh yeah, my elementary school was primarily Mexican. I remember we had some kind of cultural day and they asked like, where your ancestors came from, and they were writing it on the board, and it was like Mexico, 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 England, Mexico, Mexico, Mexico. Yeah. I mean, I have no other identity I can go back to. I'm a quarter or more Norwegian, and then I'm German, and I'm English. So I can't say that I'm English, I can't say I'm German, I can't say I'm Norwegian alone. I'm not even like majority any of those things. So the only identity that I have, ethnocultural identity, is as a white American. And I think that's most white Americans actually.
It seems like the idea of white people or whiteness that we know today that's referenced by the media or by the Associated Press is a relatively new construction. Like talking to my grandparents who grew up in Philadelphia, you had different sections of town that belonged to different very tight-knit European communities. You had the Irish neighborhoods, German neighborhoods, Italian, Polish, Greek, and then with the mass influx of African Americans from the South during the Great Migrations, those lines kind of dissolved and they became a more loose unit of pan-European whites who fled the city. And that's part of the reason that Philadelphia became so overwhelmingly black. And so now I don't know my ancestral Irish culture because it dissolved as a result of the political situation of the time. A lot of traditions have been lost throughout the process of white assimilation.
Yeah, and that's true. That's definitely part of it. I don't think Mexican heritage has those same issues. Latinos, though, it's interesting. They come from a bunch of different indigenous backgrounds, plus the Spanish influence. Yeah. And they have no problem like seeing their commonality, and they kind of embrace it. Like La Raza, it means the race.
He's stumbling on. I find this so interesting, right? Because he's reiterating he doesn't feel like he's in tune with anything. He wants a place to belong. That's why he's doing this. This entire thing is not. I guarantee you, part of it. Let me throw a percentage, right? 10% is because he's worried about black people or Hispanics or Latinos, right? Or Asians or Indians. 90% is because he wants a place to belong. He wants to feel comfortable, right? You notice what he said at the end. He said, Latinos feel so much different. Like they're not the same. There are a bunch of different types of Latinos, but they feel similar. I don't even know if he knows that. I don't know if he knows that for sure, right? That's anecdotal, right? But he did live, obviously, like he said, he lived in a Hispanic area or a Latino area when he grew up. So he knows better than I do, right? But he sounds jealous that they can come from different backgrounds and still feel comfortable with each other. And he doesn't, even though they're not the same. If you see any Latinos or Hispanics, the skin tones are all different, the heights are all different, the languages, their accents are all different. But if they still feel a commonality, that's what he longs for. That's what again, like we're gonna go through this whole thing. Now I'm about 28 minutes in. This is a nice little intro because I'm only like 10 minutes into this 35-minute video. So it's probably gonna be a 3-parter. But we got a lot to discuss here. We got a lot to look forward to. I guarantee you by the end of this, we'll all come to the same conclusion. They just want somewhere to belong. There's going to be an air of justification. That's what I'm gonna reach on a limb and say that's what they're gonna look for. They already have the conclusion. They don't feel like they can accomplish things because we've all, say what you will, we've all thought about what it would be like to be a warlord in a war-torn country where you get to just be history. Like you get to make the history. You get to be the revolutionary. Your name's in the history books. You've got women falling all over. You've got men admiring there's something to be said about having a purpose, right? Like to aspire to something greater. So we're gonna watch these other two parts. We're gonna get into this. We're gonna really dive deep and get into their headspace. But all of this seems like they just want a place to belong and feel comfortable. And if that's with people who have their own skin tone, but think about all the stuff they're doing. It's all past stuff. It's not about their future. It's about reliving a place in which they had more power and they had more say so. You know, this is all good stuff. All good stuff. Thank you for joining for the first part of this. Probably gonna be a three-parter. Again, I appreciate all y'all stopping by. Have a good day. One.